I've been wearing barefoot or minimalist or zero drop shoes now exclusively for the past 2 years. So in today's video I'm going to be discussing the entire journey from start to finish. I'm going to be sharing with you my honest personal experience and opinion of transitioning away from mainstream shoes, the many benefits of barefoot shoes and why I invested in them, and why I would never go back to wearing conventional ones. So let's get into it. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel and thanks for joining me. So if you're new here, my name is Meg, welcome to my channel. If you're already subscribed or you've watched my videos in the past, then you may know that I am a big advocate for wearing barefoot shoes, and I've reviewed many pairs of zero drop or minimalist shoes on my channel already. So I'm not going to be reviewing or going into any detail about these here today. This is my entire collection, but I've already reviewed all of them on my channel already. So today is purely about my journey, the transition, the many benefits of them, the disadvantages of conventional shoes, and my own personal experience. So I bought my first ever pair of barefoot shoes on the 30th of June 2021. My partner and I decided to embark on the journey at the same time, and we both bought the exact same pair, which was the Primus Trail FG2 in black. So sort of a moderate walking, possibly running standard shoe. We purchased them new from the Revivo barefoot website, and the reason for this is because they give you a 90-day return guarantee where you can wear them for 90 days and you can still return them if you're not happy with them. So because transitioning over to barefoot shoes away from mainstream conventional shoes that most of us have known most of our lives is quite a big leap, and it's quite a big lifestyle change. It's really good that Revivo Barefoot offer such a generous option to wear them for 3 months, and if you don't get on with them and you don't enjoy them or you encounter any problems with them, then you can still return them. The other reason we bought from Revivo Barefoot new is, as vegans, we don't purchase new leather or new animal derived products. So I've mentioned this briefly in a lot of my videos recently, so I won't be going into too much detail about it in this one, but when it comes to barefoot shoes only, I am willing to buy second-hand leather if it's been refurbished and the shoes were potentially going to waste and then they've ended up with a new home. So all of my collection here on the top 3 rows were refurbished and second-hand. The bottom ones were new and they were all vegan. So that was one of the reasons we would never buy anything leather that's new. In fact, we'd never buy any second-hand leather or animal-derived products. It literally just applies to barefoot shoes. So those were the 2 reasons for buying from Revivo Barefoot. They are a UK company, we're based in the UK, so that seemed like our best option. So for roughly a week before we bought that first pair, we started to prepare our feet and practice barefoot walking outside as much as possible. So within reason, when it was safe to do so, when the weather permitted, we just took every opportunity to go outside and walk barefoot on all sorts of different terrains and all sorts of different surfaces. Initially, we did take our shoes with us just because it was quite a new thing to do for us. We walk around the house barefoot, but outside was a different kind of thing. So it's not available to all of us, and it's not always accessible or safe to walk barefoot. Ideally, whilst these are still shoes, the most optimal environment for your feet is barefoot. But like I said, that's not always possible for everybody. We have jobs that don't always allow for that. Environments and man-made surfaces, for example, or just generally scenarios in society that don't allow us to walk, the second time I've just done that, to walk barefoot. So ideally that's what we want to do. We want to have no shoes on, but this is most definitely your next best option. So we started to prepare our feet, like I said, about a week before we started buying them. We did a lot of research beforehand. So it is quite common for people, or whether it's common, but it is known for people to potentially suffer injuries or not get on well with the experience and not enjoy the barefoot transition. So it's very important that you do your research, that you prepare your feet sensibly, that you do it gradually. Ending up with this entire collection here was not an overnight process. It's taken me 2 years to end up with all of these shoes and to no longer own a single pair of mainstream conventional shoes. So then after that initial first week of doing as much barefoot walking as we could do outdoors, We then bought this pair of Primus Trail FGs, and within about a week or so, or a couple of uses of them, we realised quite worryingly that this was going to be a permanent change. So we only had that one pair at the time. We still both owned all of our conventional mainstream shoes. And I will be very honest in this video. As I said at the start, I want to share with you my real opinions and experiences. I did go into a bit of a panic in the first, I'd say 6 to 8 months of the journey. So by that point, we'd started to wear lots more barefoot shoes, even started to sell our conventional mainstream shoes or donate them or pass them on. And I started to worry how sustainable it was going to be to transition entirely to barefoot shoes. So barefoot shoes tend to be not very affordable. They tend to be in quite a high price bracket, which is probably the only negative thing that I'm going to be able to say about them in this video. Also, the design and options for different styles is also very limited. So yeah, that would probably be the only two things that I would be able to say that might be seen as disadvantages by some people. But on balance, the benefits of them, which I'll get into in the second half of the video, completely outweigh those two possibly negative aspects. So I did, being honest, get into a bit of a panic. I was worried how sustainable it was going to be to keep financially coming up with the money for the barefoot shoes. I quite honestly didn't want to get rid of some of the mainstream conventional shoes that I had. I really loved them. I loved the styles. I wasn't seeing anything that was similar in barefoot shoes. I was worried about getting rid of all of them and then being tied into barefoot shoes, basically, where I wouldn't have any other options, and I would have gotten rid of a load of shoes that I, at the time, perceived as okay. I liked the styles. So yeah, being honest about that, I did get into a bit of a panic. I did overcome that within about a year, I guess. Maybe that might seem like a long time to some people, but having come from a fairly basic childhood, we never had lots of money. I've always, as an adult, lived very much within my means. I've always had fairly low salaries, and I've never had any luxuries in life or really expensive belongings. So to suddenly end up with a collection this expensive, so sort of a part of my life that's this valuable, was really quite alien to me. So I guess that's what sent me into a panic. You know, how am I going to get hold of shoes that I want to wear in my conventional sort of set, designs and styles? How am I going to find them? But yeah, clearly I'm here today, 2 years on, and I don't regret it at all. It's one of the best lifestyle changes that I've ever made. So I am by no means medically trained. I'm not qualified. I'm not a chiropractor. I'm not, like I say, medically qualified to tell you what you should or shouldn't do and guarantee the benefits of barefoot shoes. But what I do know is that I did a lot of research. I follow a lot of social media accounts, a lot of professionals that sort of praise barefoot shoes and encourage people to move away from mainstream shoes, and also my own logic, my own thinking, my own comfort, my own sort of rationality about it. So I'm going to move on now into the second half of the video, where I'm going to be discussing with you my reasons and in turn the many benefits of barefoot shoes and why I would never go back to wearing conventional or mainstream shoes. So the very first thing to point out about mainstream, conventional, normal high street shoes, fashion brands, is that they are very, very restrictive. And the first thing that I noticed with barefoot or minimalist or zero drop shoes is how incredibly comfortable they are. So I'm just going to pick this pair as an example. These actually happen to be my most comfortable pair, and I'm going to just run through with you the basics of barefoot shoes and what they should do, the benefits of them, and the reasons why I am here today with only barefoot shoes. So the first and most significant benefit, and the thing that I noticed the most when I first transitioned, is the wide toe box. So you can see here, nice and wide, and also here, hoping you can see that in the frame. Basically, mainstream conventional shoes, they tend to go into a V shape quite high up and end in sort of a point or a beak at the end here. Now this is completely unnatural. This isn't the shape of our toes. This isn't the shape of the feet that we were born with if you look at babies' feet. So that is a huge part of barefoot shoes, is having a wide toe box. This allows for our toes to spread naturally, for them to do their job as they're supposed to balance us, to feel the earth, to be able to move and not be all constricted and confined into a small, pointy, unnatural shape. So moving on to the second most important thing, and that is their flexibility. So mainstream conventional shoes tend to have a lot of padding, a lot of material, a lot of hard, clunky sort of structure around them, and there's very little movement allowed in the ankle, particularly walking boots, which is actually really quite sad because that's an environment where you really need your feet to be working and feeling the ground. So particularly walking boots, for example, they'll have very high, thick, rigid ankles, not allowing the ankle to do its thing, not allowing the entire foot really to sort of work in conjunction with all the muscles in the toes and the foot in general. So the flexibility of them is really important. The zero drop sole is also very important, so there's no arch support or raised heel or uneven structure on the bottom. It's completely zero drop, and the soles are very, very thin as well, which is also really important. Very clunky, chunky, heavy, thick, hard, rigid soles that are like sometimes 2 centimeters thick or that kind of thing. Really unhealthy, really unhelpful as well for our feet. So the reason why zero drop, thin soles and flexibility and wide toe boxes is so important is because our feet are a really essential part of our body. Mobility, balance, agility, all of that kind of thing. And when they're restricted into shoes that are too narrow, that are pointy, that aren't the shape of our foot, that are hard and restrictive and don't allow for any supple movement, the sensory feedback in the soles of our feet is really, really limited to our brain. So what our feet should be doing, the way they should be moving, depending on the different surfaces and sort of textures underneath our feet, that sort of becomes inhibited in mainstream conventional shoes. They're not as comfortable. Once you wear barefoot shoes, you realize that mainstream conventional shoes aren't as comfortable. They feel like your feet aren't allowed to do what they're really supposed to. And the first time I started wearing barefoot shoes, both my partner and I realized and felt that our feet were more free, were more liberated. They felt so much more comfortable. They felt lighter. We felt more able to move and feel the ground beneath you. You can feel all the ridges and all the different surfaces. It's just, I'm very, very passionate about it, and I would never have invested this much money and spent this much time transitioning into a journey that I wasn't passionate about. I wouldn't do it just because it's a fad. So when you hear the passion in my voice, it's really very genuine. I'm so glad that I caught on to barefoot shoes early enough. I'm not medically trained or qualified, so I don't know when it comes to really gone on feet and certain ages and certain deformities whether barefoot shoes alone can fix those problems. But what I do know is that wearing restrictive conventional shoes that keep your toes all squished together, they cause bunions. Throughout the world, it's one of the most commonly known facts. People with the bunion on the side of their big toe that sticks out, the big toe that's gone inward, the little toe that's gone inward, toes that are overlapping. It just really saddens me that this has become such a mainstream way of caring for our feet, and for companies to advertise and suggest that we do that to our feet. It's just awful. So that is why I speak so passionately about barefoot shoes. That's why I do so many videos about them, because I really want to help everybody gain the knowledge and the information that I've learned from other people. So where did I get to? We've done the wide toe box, we've done the super flexibility, I've talked about how incredibly comfortable they are, the thin soles, the zero drop sole as well, very, very, very lightweight, minimal material, yeah, that's also really important. So there's very little material used. If you compare these to a conventional pair, there's just a lot more going on, and inevitably then that's a lot heavier on the foot. I unfortunately don't have, oh, I'm sorry if the light is dipping, I won't find out until I've finished filming. That does happen in this room, so I do apologise. Unfortunately, I don't have a conventional or mainstream pair anymore to show you side by side as a comparison. In some of my older videos I was still able to do that, so definitely go and check those out if you're interested in a sort of side by side direct comparison. So they're a lot closer to the ground because of the thin soles and also because of the zero drop soles. Therefore the earthing experience is much better. The sensory feedback to the brain is inhibited and is a lot more natural, and your feet also get stronger. So again, I'm not medically qualified or a professional, so that's for you to do your research. But in terms of arch support, I was convinced in a previous life that I needed to be wearing those Birkenstock style shoes. I didn't wear Birkenstocks, but that's like kind of thick cork sandal with the raised arch, and I was convinced that that's what I needed. I'd been told by my dad in a previous life that I had really flat feet, and actually I came to realise that arch support doesn't help your feet at all, because the more cushioning and the more sort of embellishment that you have in a conventional shoe that prevents your foot from doing its own thing and strengthening itself, the weaker your feet are going to be. So it's sort of doing the work for you by having arch support, by having raised heels, by having thick soles, but it's not allowing your feet to get stronger by themselves. And so actually you are prone more to injury in conventional mainstream shoes than you would be with barefoot shoes. But like I said at the start, make sure if you're interested in barefoot shoes and you haven't transitioned yet, to do your research and transition and prepare your feet slowly. That's really, really important. So you'll definitely get stronger feet over time. I can't say how long that will take everybody. Everybody is individual, everybody's unique, but I have noticed a change in how my toes spread now, sort of the shape of my feet. I don't get any injuries, I don't feel any foot pain. It's helped me in general with my knee pain. My knee pain hasn't gone away, but it hasn't got worse either. And I'm only 34 at the moment. So when I first transitioned, I would have been, or when I bought my first pair, I would have been like 32. So I think that I sort of caught my feet at an early enough time, whilst our feet are already grown and formed and developed by our 30s. I didn't have particularly unhealthy feet anyway. I mean, they do go in a little bit in the big toe and the little toe side, and they do overlap a little bit and sort of curve in, but that is normal, having worn mainstream conventional shoes my whole life. But I didn't have any massive bunions or any serious problems with my feet. So apart from possibly a bit of a flat foot, I think I was lucky enough to sort of catch the problem and become aware of barefoot shoes early enough. So like I said, not medically trained, not qualified. I can't guarantee that they will reverse all deformities, or whether years and years and years of wearing mainstream conventional shoes can be reversed with barefoot shoes at any particular point in life. Obviously that's not something that I can say, but I do know how good they are to continue wearing. It's better to start wearing them than never having worn them at all, if that makes sense. They're going to help with your balance, they're going to help with the overall strength and health of your body in general, with posture, mobility. There's just so many things that they will help with, because really all you're doing is trying to find, I don't know if I already said this, so I do apologise if I'm repeating myself, really what you're aiming for is the least amount of material possible, and basically a safe enough glove around your foot in modern society that allows your foot to act and be in the most natural way possible. That's really what you're aiming for. So yeah, I mentioned sensory feedback. And then finally, for me personally, one of the benefits is that they are slow, sustainable fashion. So as far as I'm concerned, that's not the case obviously with all barefoot shoes, but all three rows here were all second-hand refurbished shoes. So they were going to go to landfill, they've been repaired, they've been given a new home, and also the website that these come from, which is Revivo, which refurbishes Vivo barefoot shoes, there's also quite a long waiting game to sort of come across a pair that is in the size and the style and the colour that you want. And so I consider that as slow fashion, whereas high street, mainstream conventional fashion brands that, you know, big popular brands, they're not slow fashion, they're fast fashion. It's very commercialized and it's not sustainable, they're often not ethically made. So that is, for me personally, one of the other benefits to wearing these shoes in particular. The ones at the bottom, so all of my sandals were new. I haven't managed to find a pair that I was happy with that was second hand, and these are from other brands, Feel Grounds and Zero Shoes. So they were all new, but they are also from fairly sustainable companies. The Feel Grounds in particular use vegan or natural sustainable materials. So yes, from my perspective personally, one of the reasons that I have stuck to barefoot shoes, and particularly second-hand or pre-loved refurbished shoes, is from a slow fashion sustainability point. So there we go, that brings us to the end of the video. I do apologise if at times during the video I was struggling to find my words. If some of you are familiar with my channel, then you may know that I do suffer from anxiety. So unfortunately sometimes filming and being on camera makes me nervous, and I do get a bit anxious. Sometimes I repeat myself, sometimes I go off on a bit of a tangent, so I'm grateful for your patience. If you did enjoy this video, please make sure to give it a thumbs up, and as always to subscribe if you haven't already. I really appreciate your support, particularly as a small content creator. The more support I get and the more you enjoy my videos, the more it encourages me to overcome my nerves on camera and sort of pass on all the information to you and all of my knowledge that I've gained from others as well, because that's really ultimately what I want to do, is help everybody. So let me know down in the comments if there's anything else you'd like to know, if you feel I missed anything out, if you want to share your opinion or your experience or your journey so far on barefoot shoes. I love hearing from you all, and I do my best to get back to everybody as quickly as possible. In the meantime, take care and stay safe, and I'll see you soon. Bye.